The hospital lobby was filled with the usual noise of ringing phones, quick footsteps, and the faint beeping of machines from far away. It was a place where people came with hope, fear, or sometimes both. Among them walked Maya, a young mother carrying her baby close to her chest. She held her little daughter carefully, wrapped in a soft pink blanket. Her face looked tired, but her eyes showed deep love and strength. Maya had been through many challenges since the day her baby, Alina, was born. She was a single mother, and everything she did now was for her child. That morning, Alina had been crying non-stop and seemed to be in pain. Worried, Maya rushed to the hospital, hoping the doctors could help. The reception area was busy. Nurses and staff walked quickly, some holding papers, others guiding patients. Maya stood near the desk, waiting for someone to notice her. She whispered softly to her baby, trying to keep her calm. "It's okay, little one. Mama's here. We'll get you checked soon." Finally, a nurse at the desk looked up. Her name was Nora. She had worked in the hospital for many years and was known by her colleagues for her strict, sometimes cold way of speaking. She glanced at Maya, then at the baby, and sighed as if she was already annoyed. "Yes? What do you need?" Nora asked, her tone sharp. Maya, though nervous, kept her voice gentle. "My baby has been crying all night. She seems to be in pain. I just need to see a doctor." Instead of showing concern, Nora frowned. She spoke louder than necessary, and a few people in the lobby turned to look. "You can't just walk in and expect to be seen right away. There are rules. Fill out this form and wait your turn." Maya nodded quickly. "Of course, I understand. I'll fill it." She took the paper with one hand while balancing her baby in the other. The pen slipped a few times as Alina squirmed and whimpered. As she struggled, a kind receptionist sitting nearby noticed and quietly slid over to help. "Here, let me write it down for you," she offered with a smile. Maya thanked her softly, relieved by the kindness. But Nora's eyes were still on her. She tapped her pen against the desk impatiently. "You people always come here expecting special treatment," she muttered under her breath. Maya's cheeks warmed with embarrassment. She hugged Alina closer, whispering a lullaby to keep herself calm. She did not want to argue, she only wanted her child to be cared for. After the form was complete, Maya sat down in the waiting area. Minutes felt like hours as her baby cried again. Other patients gave her sympathetic looks, while a few whispered among themselves. At last, Nora walked over to call her name. "Maya," she said loudly. Maya quickly stood up, rocking Alina gently as she followed Nora down the hallway toward the examination rooms. But instead of guiding her kindly, Nora's words grew sharper. "Next time, don't make a scene in the lobby. If you can't handle a baby, maybe you shouldn't bring her here for every little cry." Maya stopped walking for a moment. Her lips trembled, but she took a deep breath. "I'm only here because my baby is in pain. I don't want to waste anyone's time. I just want her to be safe." Her voice was soft, but there was firmness in it too. She would not let anyone make her feel less for caring about her daughter. When they reached the room, Nora opened the door carelessly, almost hitting the chair inside. She motioned for Maya to sit. "Wait here. The doctor will come when he has time." Maya sat down, rocking Alina gently. Her baby's cries had grown weaker, which worried her even more. She kissed her daughter's forehead and whispered, "Hold on, my love. Mama's right here." Just then, another nurse passed by the open door. Her name was Clara, a younger nurse known for her warm smile and gentle care. She paused when she saw Maya. "Is everything okay here?" she asked softly. Maya looked up with tired eyes. "My baby's been crying all night. I just hope she's all right." Clara stepped closer, her voice kind. "Don't worry. I'll make sure a doctor comes quickly." She glanced at Nora, who was standing nearby, arms crossed. Clara's eyes narrowed slightly. She could sense something had gone wrong in the way Maya was treated. Within minutes, Clara returned with Dr. Harris, a calm and experienced pediatrician. He greeted Maya kindly and examined little Alina with care. His voice was steady as he explained. "She seems to have a mild infection. It's nothing too serious, but it was good you brought her in quickly. We'll start treatment, and she should feel better soon." Tears filled Maya's eyes, but this time they were from relief. She held Alina close, whispering, "Thank you. Thank you so much." Clara placed a reassuring hand on Maya's shoulder. "You did the right thing. You're a strong mother." But as Maya sat there, comforted by kindness, she could not forget the harsh treatment she had faced earlier. A seed of sadness and quiet strength began to grow inside her heart. Something had to change. And soon, everything in that hospital would. The next morning, sunlight filtered through the tall windows of the hospital lobby. The place was already buzzing with visitors, nurses, and doctors moving in every direction. But among the sound of footsteps and voices, there was another thing spreading whispers. People were quietly talking about what had happened the night before. Some staff had seen the way Nurse Nora spoke to Maya, and they did not like it. Clara, the younger nurse who had stepped in to help, had shared the incident with a few colleagues. Not in anger, but out of concern. "This is not the first time," Clara told them. "Patients need kindness, not sharp words. If we ignore this, it will keep happening." Her words stayed in the minds of those who heard them. Meanwhile, Maya sat in the small hospital room with her baby, Alina. The doctor had given her medicine, and finally, after a long night of worry, Alina was resting peacefully in her mother's arms. Maya stroked her daughter's tiny hand, feeling grateful but also thoughtful. She kept replaying Nora's words in her head, the tone, the dismissive looks, the lack of care. Maya was not an angry person, but she believed every person deserved respect, especially when they were at their weakest. She promised herself she would not let this memory pass like another silent wound. That afternoon, Dr. Harris returned to check on Alina. His calm presence filled the room. "She is responding well to the medicine," he explained. "She will need rest, but she should recover in a few days." Maya's eyes softened. "Thank you, doctor. You've been very kind." Dr. Harris nodded gently. But as he turned to leave, he hesitated. His years of experience told him when a patient carried a weight heavier than illness. "Maya," he said, "is there something else troubling you?" She looked down at her baby, then back at him. Slowly, she told him what had happened with Nurse Nora, how she was spoken to, how she was made to feel small in front of others. Her voice shook at first, but then grew steady. Dr. Harris listened without interrupting. When she finished, he let out a long breath. "I am truly sorry you went through that. No mother, no patient, should feel disrespected in this place. I will make sure this does not go unheard." Maya gave a small nod. She did not want revenge, she only wanted change. That evening, as Maya prepared to leave the hospital, Clara walked her to the entrance. "You are very brave," Clara said softly. "Most people would have stayed silent, but you spoke up." Maya gave a tired smile. "I only want my child to grow up in a world where people are treated kindly. Nothing more." As she stepped out into the cool evening air, she thought the matter would end there. But inside the hospital, the story was only beginning to spread. The next day, during the morning staff meeting, Clara and Dr. Harris brought up the issue. They did not mention Maya's name at first, only spoke of the importance of respect, patience, and compassion. "Every person who comes through these doors is already carrying pain, fear, or hope," Dr. Harris said firmly. Our job is not only to treat their illness but also to give them dignity. If we fail at that, we fail at everything. Some staff members nodded in agreement. A few looked down, uncomfortable. And Nora, sitting in the corner, crossed her arms. She avoided everyone's eyes. After the meeting, whispers grew louder. Did you hear? Someone complained about Nora. I'm not surprised. She has spoken harshly before. I wonder what will happen now. The hospital director, Mrs. Turner, soon heard the news. She was a strong woman in her 50s, respected for her fairness and leadership. She believed in discipline but also in second chances. She called Clara to her office to hear the details directly. Clara spoke honestly, describing what she had seen and how Maya had been treated. Mrs. Turner listened carefully, her face calm but serious. Thank you for telling me, she said. I will look into this myself. Later that day, Mrs. Turner quietly observed Nora as she worked. She noticed the sharp way Nora gave instructions, the impatient tone in her voice with patience. Though Nora was efficient in her tasks, something vital was missing: compassion. Mrs. Turner knew she had to act soon. A hospital was not only about medicine, it was about trust. Meanwhile, Maya sat at home with her baby. She thought her part in the story was over, but she was wrong. Her quiet courage had already lit a spark inside the hospital walls. By evening, Clara visited her at home. She carried a small basket of fruits and medicine for Alina. I just wanted to see how you both are doing, she said warmly. Maya was surprised but grateful. Alina is better, thank you. And thank you for standing by me yesterday. I'll never forget it. Clara smiled. Sometimes, one voice is all it takes to open many ears. You may not realize it, Maya, but you've started something here. Maya held her baby closer, feeling both nervous and hopeful. She did not know exactly what Clara meant, but in her heart, she prayed it would bring goodness. And in the quiet rooms of the hospital, decisions were being made that would soon change everything for Nora, for the staff, and for every patient who walked through those doors. The story was far from over. The morning sun poured through the wide glass windows of the hospital, lighting up the busy reception area. Patients came in and out, nurses carried files, and doctors hurried from one ward to another. On the surface, everything looked normal. But inside the hearts of the staff, a quiet tension was growing. Word had spread quickly about Maya's complaint, even though she had never shouted or demanded attention. Her soft but firm words had reached the ears of those who mattered. And now, Mrs. Turner, the hospital director, was determined to learn the truth herself. Mrs. Turner was known for her calm yet powerful presence. She had been leading the hospital for more than 15 years, and she believed strongly in fairness. She knew how easily trust could be broken if patients felt disrespected. A hospital was not just a place for medicine, it was also a place for comfort. That day, Mrs. Turner decided to walk through the hospital without her usual formal announcement. She wanted to see things with her own eyes. She dressed simply, carried only a small notebook, and quietly moved from ward to ward. In the children's section, she noticed a young mother waiting with her child. The nurse on duty, Clara, knelt down to the child's level, speaking softly, offering a smile, and even making the child laugh. The mother's face relaxed, and the room felt lighter. Mrs. Turner wrote in her notebook, "Compassion builds trust." Later, in another section, she saw Nurse Nora giving instructions. Her voice was sharp, her tone impatient. An elderly patient asked her a question, but she brushed it aside quickly, not even making eye contact. Mrs. Turner's heart sank. She wrote again, "Efficiency without kindness creates fear." By afternoon, Mrs. Turner returned to her office. She called for Dr. Harris, knowing he was respected not only for his medical skill but also for his fairness. When he entered, She asked him directly, "Tell me, doctor. What do you know about the incident with the young mother and nurse Nora?" Dr. Harris spoke carefully. He explained how Maya had arrived with her baby, worried and exhausted. He told her about Nora's coldness and how Maya had felt humiliated. He also mentioned how Clara had stepped in to help, showing the right way to treat patients. When he finished, Mrs. Turner leaned back in her chair. "Thank you, doctor. I wanted to hear the truth from someone who was there." Dr. Harris lowered his voice. "Ma'am, this is not the first time. Nora is skilled at her duties, but she has often spoken harshly to patients. Most people do not complain, but the pain stays in their hearts." Mrs. Turner sighed deeply. A hospital must be a place of healing, not only for the body but also for the spirit. If our staff forget that, then we fail in our purpose. She decided it was time for action. The next morning, Mrs. Turner called a special meeting. All staff were asked to attend. Nurses, doctors, and receptionists filled the large conference hall, their faces a mix of curiosity and worry. When Mrs. Turner entered, the room fell silent. She stood at the front, her posture straight, her voice calm but firm. "Yesterday, I walked through the hospital quietly," she began. "I watched how we treat our patients. Some of you brought light into their eyes with simple kindness. But I also saw impatience, coldness, and words that cut deeper than illness. This must change." The room was still. Every word carried weight. "Patients do not come here for only medicine," she continued. "They come here for care, for comfort, for dignity. If we cannot give them that, then we are not worthy of their trust." She paused and let her words settle. Many staff shifted uncomfortably in their seats. Mrs. Turner's eyes moved across the room. She did not mention names, but everyone knew she had seen something. Nora, sitting stiffly near the back, clenched her hands. Her face grew red, though she said nothing. Then Mrs. Turner announced, "From today, every staff member will undergo a new training program on patient care. This will not be optional. Compassion is not an extra skill, it is a requirement." A quiet murmur filled the room. Some staff looked relieved, while others looked nervous. But Mrs. Turner was not finished. "And I want every one of you to remember this: one complaint is not just a small matter. It is a voice of pain. We must listen to those voices, because they guide us to become better." Her words touched many hearts. Some nurses felt a new sense of responsibility. Doctors exchanged glances, realizing how important their tone and presence could be. Meanwhile, outside the hospital, Maya carried her baby through the park. Alina was already looking healthier, her small hands reaching for the sunshine. Maya felt peace, not knowing that inside the hospital, her quiet courage had already started a storm of change. At that very moment, Clara walked into the cafeteria, where other nurses were talking in hushed voices. When they saw her, they smiled. One said, "Clara, thank you for speaking up. If you hadn't helped that mother, nothing would have changed." Clara shook her head gently. "It wasn't me. It was her. She showed strength when she spoke. We just have to follow that example." But Nora, who had overheard, stood up abruptly and left the room. Her pride was hurt, and she could feel the ground shifting beneath her feet. For the first time, she realized her position was no longer secure. That night, Mrs. Turner sat in her office, looking out at the city lights. She thought about the young mother who had carried her baby into the hospital with nothing but love and hope. One quiet voice had reminded everyone of the true meaning of care. She whispered to herself, "Sometimes, it takes just one patient to teach an entire hospital how to heal again." But deep inside, Mrs. Turner also knew the real test had only just begun. The following week, the hospital looked the same from the outside: tall white walls, clean windows, and busy doors. But inside, there was a different air. The staff had been called to begin the new training program announced by Mrs. Turner. Every nurse, doctor, and receptionist was required to attend. They were told it was not about medical skills this time but about something equally important: compassion. The first session took place in the large conference hall. Chairs were arranged in rows, and a projector displayed the words, "Healing with kindness." The staff sat down, some curious, some nervous. At the front, Mrs. Turner spoke calmly. "This training is not a punishment. It is a chance to grow. A hospital is more than walls and machines, it is people caring for people." Beside her stood Clara, who had been chosen as one of the guides for the training. She looked nervous but also determined. She had been praised for the way she treated patients, and Mrs. Turner believed her example could inspire others. When Clara stepped forward, she smiled gently at the group. "We will learn simple things," she said. "How to listen, how to speak kindly, how to notice when someone is afraid. Small actions can make a big difference." Some staff nodded in agreement, while others looked away. Nora sat in the back, her arms crossed tightly. Her pride still stung from the attention the incident had brought. She whispered to the nurse beside her, "I don't need a class to teach me how to do my job." But deep inside, she knew Mrs. Turner was watching closely. The training began with stories. Clara shared moments when patients had opened up to her just because she listened. Dr. Harris spoke about how trust made treatments easier, and how even a smile could reduce fear. Then, Mrs. Turner surprised everyone. She announced, "For this training, we will also hear from patients. Their voices matter the most. They will tell us how they felt, what they needed, and what helped them heal." The staff exchanged surprised glances. Patients giving lessons to the hospital? It was unusual. A few days later, when the first patient guest walked into the hall, everyone turned to look. To Nora's shock, it was Maya, holding her baby Alina in her arms. The room grew silent. Some staff whispered softly, recognizing her as the young mother from the lobby. Clara's eyes lit up with warmth, while Nora's face stiffened. Mrs. Turner greeted Maya kindly. "Thank you for coming. We believe your story can help us all." Maya, though nervous, stood tall. She looked around the room, then down at her baby, who slept peacefully in her arms. Her voice was gentle but steady. "I came here because of my baby," she began. "She was sick, and I was scared. When I arrived, I only wanted comfort and help. Some of you gave me that, and I will always be grateful. But others made me feel small, as if my pain did not matter." The room stayed quiet. Every word touched the air like a weight. Maya continued, "I know hospitals are busy. I know staff get tired. But when you speak kindly, when you show a little patience, you give more than medicine, you give hope. And hope is what keeps people going." Her words reached hearts that had been closed before. Some staff lowered their eyes, ashamed. Others nodded, realizing how true her message was. Even Nora, who had crossed her arms tightly, felt a strange stir inside her. She looked at Maya, who spoke without anger, only honesty. For the first time, Nora wondered if she had truly forgotten why she became a nurse in the first place. After Maya spoke, Clara stepped forward and smiled. "This is why kindness matters. Patients remember not only what we do but how we make them feel." Maya's words are a reminder to all of us. The room filled with a gentle applause, not loud, but heartfelt. Maya's cheeks warmed, and she held Alina close. She had not come to embarrass anyone, she had only wanted to share the truth. Mrs. Turner thanked her warmly. "Your courage has given us all a lesson. We will not forget this." As Maya left the hall, she felt lighter, as if a heavy weight had finally been lifted. She never thought her quiet voice would matter in such a big place, but it had. Later that evening, as the staff left the training session, Whispers followed again. But this time, they were not whispers of complaint, they were whispers of change. Did you hear her words? She was right. It makes me think about how I speak to patients. I never realized one small action could hurt so much. And in the back, Nora walked slowly, her thoughts heavy. For the first time in years, she felt unsure. She remembered when she first became a nurse, she had wanted to help people, to comfort them. But somewhere along the way, she had let stress and pride harden her heart. That night, when she returned home, Nora sat in silence. She could not sleep. Maya's gentle words echoed in her mind, "You give more than medicine, you give hope." She closed her eyes, whispering to herself, "Maybe I have forgotten. Maybe it's time to remember." In another part of the city, Maya placed her baby in the crib, watching her sleep peacefully. She smiled, knowing her daughter's presence had already changed lives without even knowing it. But little did she know, this was only the beginning of a bigger storm. The hospital was moving towards something even greater, something that would shake its walls and test everyone inside. The hospital felt brighter in the days after the patient panel. It was not just the clean walls or the busy hallways, it was something deeper. Staff spoke more gently, smiled more often, and looked at patients with new eyes. The change was small at first, but it was real. Maya had returned to her normal routine at home with Alina, yet she had left behind a seed that was growing inside the hospital. Her words were remembered, repeated, and even written down on posters that Mrs. Turner asked to be placed on the walls. Healing is not only medicine, it is also hope. But for Nora, the change was not as simple. She carried a heavy feeling in her heart. At night, she thought about the faces of patients she had rushed, the voices she had ignored, and the sharp words she had spoken without care. She remembered Maya's calm eyes, not filled with anger but with truth. One morning, Nora stood in front of the hospital mirror before her shift. She touched the pocket where she kept her pen and badge. For years, she had worn them with pride, but lately, that pride had turned to shame. She whispered to herself, "It's time to be the nurse I once wanted to be." That day, Nora began her shift differently. When she entered the children's ward, a little boy sat on the bed, looking frightened before his checkup. Normally, Nora would have spoken quickly and walked past, but this time, she knelt beside him. "What's your name?" she asked softly. The boy sniffled. "Samuel, Sam," Nora smiled. "Do you know I used to be scared of doctors too? But you know what helped me? Thinking of my favorite story. Do you have one?" Sam's eyes widened a little. "Dinosaurs. Dinosaurs." Nora chuckled. "Then imagine a big, strong dinosaur standing next to you. He'll keep you safe." Sam smiled for the first time that day. His mother's eyes filled with relief, and she mouthed, "Thank you." For Nora, it was a small step, but it felt like a mountain had moved inside her. Meanwhile, Mrs. Turner noticed the shift. She quietly observed Nora from a distance, surprised at the warmth she now showed. Later, she called Clara into her office. "Have you seen the change in Nora?" Mrs. Turner asked. Clara nodded. "Yes. I think Maya's words touched her more than we realize. She's trying." Mrs. Turner leaned back in her chair thoughtfully. "Then we must give her space to grow. Change is not easy, but when it comes, it can be powerful." A week later, another patient panel was scheduled. This time, Maya had not been asked to speak, but Mrs. Turner invited her to attend as a guest. When Maya arrived, she felt shy as always, carrying Alina in her arms. But many nurses smiled at her warmly, some even thanked her quietly in the hallway. She realized her voice had made a bigger difference than she had imagined. During the panel, more patients shared their stories. Some spoke of fear, others of gratitude. One elderly woman said through tears, The nurse who sat with me that night gave me more comfort than the medicine itself. Maya sat in the audience, her heart swelling. She had never thought a hospital could learn from the voices of ordinary people like her. After the session, Mrs. Turner approached her. "Maya, would you consider helping us in a special way? I would like you to be part of our Patient Voices Committee. You don't have to come often, but we want your guidance from time to time." Maya was surprised. "Me? But I am not a leader. I am just a mother." Mrs. Turner shook her head gently. "Sometimes, the strongest leaders are those who never meant to lead. Your voice carries honesty. That is what we need." Maya looked down at Alina, who smiled in her arms, and she thought again about the world she wanted for her child. Finally, she nodded. "If it can help others, then yes. I will do it." That same afternoon, as Maya walked out of the hospital, she passed Nora in the hallway. Their eyes met for a moment. Nora froze, unsure what to say, but then she whispered, "Thank you." Maya looked surprised. "For what?" "For reminding me," Nora said, her voice low but steady. "I had forgotten what it means to care. But because of you, I am learning again." Maya gave a soft smile. "It wasn't me. It was the truth you already had inside. You just needed to remember." Nora's eyes grew moist. She nodded slowly, and for the first time, her heart felt lighter. That evening, as the sun set behind the hospital, Clara, Dr. Harris, and Mrs. Turner met in the director's office. They spoke about the changes happening, the staff growing kinder, and the patients noticing the difference. But Mrs. Turner's face grew serious. "We have come far, but the journey is not finished. A storm may still come, and we must be ready." Her words lingered in the room like a quiet warning. And outside, Maya held her baby close, not knowing that the hospital she had once entered in fear was slowly becoming a place of hope and that her voice would soon be needed more than ever. The days that followed felt different inside the hospital. The training program continued, with each session focusing on new lessons about kindness, patience, and respect. Staff who had once rushed through their duties now began to slow down, making eye contact with patients, offering small words of comfort. Patients noticed. Smiles appeared where there had once been fear. Children in the waiting rooms laughed a little more, and families whispered that something new was happening in the hospital, something good. But for Nora, every session felt like a mirror she did not want to look into. She sat through the classes with her arms folded, but her mind was restless. The words of Maya still echoed inside her heart. She could not forget the moment Maya said, "You give more than medicine, you give hope." One evening, after a long day, Nora walked out of the hospital slowly. She stopped near the garden outside, where the air was filled with the scent of flowers. For the first time in years, she allowed herself to think back to why she had become a nurse. She remembered her younger days, how she had cared for her grandmother during her illness, how she had promised herself that she would help others with the same love. But somewhere between long shifts, endless paperwork, and stress, she had lost that promise. A small voice inside her whispered, "It's not too late." The next morning, during the training, Mrs. Turner surprised everyone again. She stood at the front of the hall and said, "We have learned from one patient already. But real change takes more than words. It takes listening, again and again. I have decided we will create a Patient Voices panel. Patients will come and share their experiences, and we will learn directly from them." There was a quiet buzz of excitement. A panel of patients teaching the hospital staff. It was new and unusual, but many staff members were eager to hear more. Clara, standing beside Mrs. Turner, smiled. "And the first person we wish to invite is Maya." The room filled with murmurs. Some nodded in approval, remembering her powerful words. Others were surprised that one young mother could create such an impact. In the back, Nora's heart tightened. She felt exposed, as if the whole world was watching her mistake. But instead of anger, there was something else now, a deep unease, a question she could not push away: what if I really needed to change? When Clara went to visit Maya again, she explained the idea of the panel. Maya listened quietly, holding Alina in her arms. "You want me to come again? To speak?" she asked softly. Clara nodded. "Not just to speak this time. To guide us. To remind us what patients feel. Your words opened our eyes once. They can do it again." Maya hesitated. She was not used to standing in front of large groups. She was an ordinary mother, not a leader or a teacher. But when she looked down at her baby, she thought about the future she wanted for her daughter, a world where kindness was not rare but natural. She took a deep breath and said, "If my voice can help even one person feel less alone, then I will do it." Clara smiled warmly. "You are stronger than you think, Maya. And your strength is already changing us." The day of the panel arrived. The conference hall was set up differently this time. A row of chairs stood at the front, ready for the patients who would speak. Nurses, doctors, and staff filled the audience. The atmosphere was serious but also hopeful. Maya walked in with Alina, who was sleeping peacefully in her stroller. She sat on the panel, her heart beating fast, but when she looked up, she saw Clara smiling at her from across the room. That small gesture gave her courage. One by one, patients spoke about their experiences. An elderly man shared how a nurse's smile had eased his fear before surgery. A young boy's mother told how gentle words had given her comfort during a long night in the ward. Then it was Maya's turn. She stood, holding her baby gently. "When I first came here, I was afraid. My baby was unwell, and I needed comfort. Some of you gave me kindness, and for that I am grateful. But others made me feel small, as if my worry was not important. That pain stayed with me. But I chose to speak, and because I spoke, things began to change." Her eyes moved slowly across the room. She did not look for anyone in particular, but her words reached every corner. "I believe a hospital is not only for medicine. It is for dignity, for respect, for hope. If we can give those things, then healing becomes stronger." The hall was silent, every ear listening. Her words were simple, but they carried weight. Among the crowd, Nora lowered her head. For the first time, she felt tears in her eyes. Not of anger, but of realization. Maya was not here to shame her, she was here to remind them all of something pure. When the panel ended, Mrs. Turner spoke. "This is the beginning of a new chapter for our hospital. Let us not forget these voices. Let us build a place where kindness is as strong as medicine." The room filled with applause. Maya smiled softly, holding Alina close. She had never expected her simple story to touch so many hearts. And somewhere in the back, Nora whispered to herself, "I need to find my way back." The change had begun not just in the hospital, but inside the heart of the one who had once forgotten her purpose. The hospital had never felt more alive. The corridors were filled with quiet laughter, kind words, and the soft hum of hope. The patient panels and training programs had begun to change the culture, one small action at a time. Nurses and doctors now walked with a new awareness, seeing patients not as tasks, but as people who needed care for both body and heart. Nora had continued her journey of reflection. Each day she reminded herself of Maya's words, "You give more than medicine, you give hope." She made small changes, at first kneeling to speak to a child, smiling at anxious parents, listening patiently to questions. But each small act strengthened something she had forgotten, her love for her profession. One busy morning, a situation tested her like never before. A young mother arrived at the emergency ward, holding her baby who was pale and crying. The mother's hands trembled, her eyes wide with fear. The staff rushed, but for a moment, everything slowed for Nora. She saw herself in the mother, the worry, the helplessness, the desperate hope for kindness. She stepped forward, her voice calm but confident. "I'm here to help. Let's take it one step at a time." The mother looked up, tears brimming. "Thank you. Please, help my baby." Nora guided her through the checkup, explaining each step clearly, soothing the baby, and keeping the mother reassured. When the doctor confirmed the baby was stable after treatment, the mother held her child tightly and whispered, "Thank you. I've never felt so cared for." Nora felt a warmth in her chest, the first time in years she had truly understood the power of compassion. Meanwhile, Maya was called to the hospital again, this time to participate in a special recognition ceremony organized by Mrs. Turner. The hall was decorated simply, with banners that read, "Every patient matters." Staff, patients, and families filled the seats. Maya held Alina close, who was now giggling as she reached for a small plush toy. Mrs. Turner stepped forward and spoke to the audience. "Today, we honor the courage of one patient whose voice reminded us all of our true purpose. Maya, your honesty and strength inspired change that reached every corner of this hospital." Maya stood, blushing, unsure what to say. She looked at the audience and then at Nora, who was standing quietly at the back, her posture straight, eyes steady. Maya's heart swelled not with pride, but with hope that the hospital had learned something lasting. Mrs. Turner continued, "Because of Maya, and because of the lessons we all learned together, our hospital is now committed to treating every patient with dignity and care. This is not just a promise, it is a responsibility." The room erupted in quiet applause. Maya felt tears prick her eyes. She had only wanted her child to be safe, but her courage had transformed an entire institution. Later, as the ceremony ended, Nora approached Maya. Her hands shook slightly, but her voice was calm. "Maya, I want to thank you. You reminded me why I became a nurse. I had lost my way, but because of you, I am trying to be better. I am truly sorry for how I treated you before." Maya smiled gently. "I don't need an apology. I only needed you to remember your heart. And you did." Nora nodded, feeling a weight lift off her shoulders. She realized that true healing was not just for patients, it was for those who cared for them too. In the days that followed, the hospital continued to grow stronger. Nora became one of the staff members most committed to kindness. She helped mentor younger nurses, teaching them not only medicine but also empathy. Clara worked alongside her, proud to see how far she had come. Maya joined the Patient Voices Committee, attending meetings and offering guidance when needed. She shared her insights calmly and thoughtfully, always with Alina by her side. Her presence reminded everyone that patients and their families were partners in the healing process, not just recipients of care. Even the staff who had been indifferent or impatient before began to change. Small acts of kindness multiplied. Patients noticed, and the hospital's reputation shifted. It was no longer just a place for treatment, it had become a place of hope, comfort, and dignity. One evening, as the sun set behind the hospital, Maya walked down the quiet hallway with Alina in her arms. She stopped near the reception desk, now staffed with nurses smiling and greeting patients warmly. She looked around and thought of her first visit, the fear, the tension, the hurt. And now, it was different. The hospital had learned, grown, and remembered what truly mattered. Maya whispered softly to Alina, "See, my little one? Courage can change everything, even in the smallest ways. Never forget that." Alina cooed happily, as if she understood. Maya smiled, knowing that hope and kindness had won. Inside, Nora watched a new patient enter the hospital, her arms ready to guide, her voice ready to soothe. She realized that mistakes did not define her, but the choice to change did. And now, she was ready to heal not only bodies but also hearts. The hospital, once a place of tension and fear, had become a place of healing beyond medicine. and it all began with a mother who spoke the truth and reminded everyone of the power of kindness. A new chapter had begun for patients, for staff, and for every soul who walked through those doors.